we move to the next news cycle, and though it may not make sense at first, it will make sense in a second that I am going to start doing video. I'm going to try and start doing videos where basically we focus on a recap, where it's more of a recap show of the previous night's episode of wrestling if I see fit. Meaning, if I see things that I would like to talk about and focus on and dig a little deeper into, like I saw on last night's Dynamite, then I will do a side video about the previous night's edition of wrestling. Otherwise, everything will just be everything will just show up in the everything will just show up in the news video. So, in a way, you could think of it as a new series, and for the first time, it'll be a new series having to do with something that does not have anything to do with what's going on in the WWE video game. But with that being said, that does not mean that all Dynamite news is appearing in that series, as it would be excessively difficult for me to do that and focus on certain information. But we got other stuff to talk about before then, like the information about the WWE of the potential WWE sale. But first, we got to go to the announcement of Impact Wrestling Under Siege. As Impact Wrestling Under Siege tickets will go on sale tomorrow, Friday, March 10th, and the event will take place in Ontario, Canada on May 26th. Impact Wrestling Under Siege will be a special to take place on Impact Plus. No matches have yet to be announced, but Impact Wrestling has a way of delivering on their events like they did with No Surrender last month. Now we move over to AEW for some news from AEW before we break down Dynamite. As the AEW All Atlantic Championship will no longer be called the All Atlantic Championship, as the AEW All Atlantic title is now called the AEW International Championship, as it was announced by Tony Khan on last night's episode of Dynamite. I think somebody, I was, as usual watching the, Cultaholic news video, and somebody in the comment section said that basically the reason why they got rid of the All Atlantic title or changed the name is because they realized that, you can't really call it the All Atlantic title and have, pictures of, or pictures of the flag of Japan and China when Japan and China are in the Pacific, not the Atlantic. So if you want to make it an international championship, that would be more fitting, or that would be more, conducive. I mean, I don't know if that's the plan, or maybe it's like they said that maybe AEW plans on doing more international, having more international defenses for their champion. As I mentioned, I believe it was yesterday when I was talking about the potential of Andrade coming back soon, which Andrade is said to be coming back soon, according to his father-in-law, Ric Flair, and just reports in general. I believe it was Jose the Assistant also posted maybe a video of Andrade's old mask, that maybe having Andrade go down to AAA with Los Ingobernables, that wouldn't be the worst idea, because at least it would give them the opportunity to work, and also it would give them the opportunity to be featured in a company that would feature them in a top flight role, to where then they can send footage back to AEW, have the show, have them, and try and change the perception of Preston Vance, Rush, and Andrade by having them compete for another company and be seen in a different way. if that makes sense. Would AEW do that? I mean, I think if it came down to keeping Andrade or, deciding to let Andrade go back to WWE, I think that there's no reason why they shouldn't let Andrade do that. Because they already have a partner. It's not like they don't have a partnership with AAA. And I highly doubt that AAA would say, honestly, I highly doubt that AAA would say that the only person that they want to work with is Kenny Omega. Honestly, I highly doubt that Kenny Omega is the only person that they would want to work with, especially with Andrade and Rush both having established, um, being established stars in Mexico. I don't know why that AEW, AAA would not want to work with them. It's just that maybe the option was not on the table to work with them. You know what I mean? So I think if Andrade is coming back, the opportunity, the idea should be considered for Andrade to go with Rush and Preston Vance down to Mexico and maybe do a little tour in AAA. But also on Dynamite last night, we saw Bryan Danielson in a vignette filmed after Revolution, basically announced that it's time for him to go home, which has led some fans to wonder what's going on with Bryan Danielson. And I think the easiest way to phrase it is that Bryan Danielson is taking a break. Since his arrival in AEW, Bryan Danielson has been one of those people that has been featured in a prominent position every step of the way. Bryan Danielson came in and immediately started a feud with Kenny Omega, and then after Kenny dropped the belt, he feuded with Hangman Page for a bit, and now he feuded with Max. It's something that we've grown accustomed to since Bryan Danielson arrived, where Bryan Danielson by far won the most amount of matches that he's ever won in AEW in the build-up to Revolution, as a way to prove that he deserved to be considered for the pay-per-view, and playing into the emotion, playing into the fact that Bryan Danielson was a little beaten down and a little battered after the build-up to Revolution, and the fact that he competed every single week on Dynamite to prove he belonged at Revolution in the Iron Man match against Maxwell. It's not surprising that he's taken a break, but it's a much-deserved break. I don't think that this is Bryan Danielson saying he's leaving. I think this is Bryan Danielson taking the vacation that he rightfully earned. But that is just me. And also, if you're willing to stick around, we got one more video to go as we break down last night's episode of Dynamite. But also, WWE is set to meet with potential buyers next month for first round bids on WWE. I mean, there is no guarantee that WWE is going to be sold. There is no guarantee that WWE will find a buyer. But, I mean, I don't think anybody is surprised. I don't think anybody is surprised that they are waiting until after WrestleMania to start really looking into potentially selling the company, because this way it allows them to focus on selling the company as opposed to having to focus on WrestleMania. I mean, that's easy enough, but I think that means we will likely be hearing more information about what's going on and the potential sale of the company sometime next month. With that being said, though, again, if you're willing to stick around or interested in the new series, then later tonight, the breakdown of AEW Dynamite and some of my thoughts of what's to come post-Revolution. With that being said, that is it for the news cycle today, and I will see you in the next video.